Hello, here is the DeFacto review for last week. Two things about COVID, the second, whatever events happened to shake the society. First, about COVID. Total 1,479 cases positive in Mongolia. For last week, additional 112 cases. That means 16 cases a day on the average, which is quite lower than a week before. We have inside almost 1,000 of them infected inside of the country. The remaining is transported or coming from Mongolians brought by special flights. Total 909 people are recovered, additional 20 for last week. Tested almost 700,000 people, or 114,000 people for last week tested. That makes 21% of the total population. 2 persons died, but not last week, a week before. These 2 persons were senior people with other diseases, according to the doctors. All these positive cases occurred in Ulaanbaatar city, total 652 now. Additional 112 of whole statistics happened in Ulaanbaatar. Remaining all IMAX for last 3-4 weeks, no cases, so the doctors consider it safe. In Ulaanbaatar we have 3 new herds of disease. Achtung Hospital, total cases, 48 happened here. There are 2 companies, Munkhata and Tinun Ovo, 2 companies also being now the center of the disease. Looks like we're losing the control, and now people to be very careful, and people still debate on the way how we combat or trying to combat this COVID pandemic. Should we go right now case by case, or we should have cover more people tested, maybe in the package, so that 10 persons will be in one test, etc. News is people who wants to have a test, they can register, get appointments with certain website, irul.grg.mn. In 30 locations, the tests are taken. Ulaanbaatar and all the rest of the country all now in orange color of the alertness, which is middle one, for last 3 days. Food shops are open. Some services are still closed, like hairdressing. People now use very actively masks and more observe social distances in Mongolia. On events shaking the country, literally shake it. First thing was an earthquake, 6.6 magnitude earthquake occurred on January 12th nearby Hupsuku Lake. No casualties, some damage in the buildings in the nearby towns. No other damages. Many IMAX in the other cities like Ulaanbaatar, people have felt that tremors. Since no collapse of buildings, the UV-based alarm did not go off. Second news, major event, the president election is nearing by now. This election already is dividing society into 2 parts. Democratic Party is also divided by 2 parts, by whom they will whose candidate they will put on the election. One part supporting President Battulga candidacy, but Mr. Battulga has to go to the second step or barrier to overcome his constitutional court decisions whether he can go or not for the second time, according to the new amendments in the constitutions adopted at the end of last year. Well, nevertheless, he resubmitted his proposal to hand 1 million MNT cash to everybody. Cash, 80% is to be vouchers to buy domestically produced foods, 20% or 200,000 MNB to be handed in the cash. Along with the president, another 3 PM suggested a Mongolian government issues bond to cover a half of interest rate payment of the loan taken by the businesses, which is opposed by many people in society. In short, Mongolian politicians are putting many fingers or many hands in one coffin, which is called state coffin, and where only one subject, like government itself, cabinet itself, is to be responsible. And then when we have 3 hands inside, then how we can have all responsible for the missing money. The third event is about OT, the largest project everybody knows, copper and gold project. But cost overruns erode economic prospects. 34% of this project is owned by government of Mongolia, and they are now increasing the cost by 1.5 billion to 6.5 billion US dollar. And according to a new deputy chair of cabinet, Mrs. Salongo, in 30 years, no dividends, but only debt of 22 billion US dollar will remain from the project, which really provokes certain thoughts among population. On the other hand, this project is the largest FDI in the country so far and largest source of earnings, currency earnings. And also in this regard, we should note that the Prime Minister Bayar and the Minister of Finance Bayar, who were the key 2 figures of signing that OT agreement at the beginning in 2009, almost 11 years ago, were both charged with corruption and 6 billion MNT from the ex-Prime Minister, and 4 billion from the Minister of Finance were confiscated in forms of cash and real estate, also including the US real estate. These are 3 main events happened last week in Mongolia. Thank you. See you next week.